The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had his 10th session for the corruption charges against him at court today, and it was an intense session. Some headlines in Israel said it was a sparring session between Benjamin Netanyahu and the judge. Why did they say it was a sparring session between him and the judge? That's the interesting part here. So his attorney was giving some statements in that hearing, during which Benjamin Netanyahu tried to speak. He stood up and started speaking, but the judge told him, "Sir, you cannot say anything. We are in a discussion with the lawyers, not with you." And then Benjamin Netanyahu tries again. He stands up, tries to speak again. And then the judge told him, "Mr. Netanyahu, you are required to sit." Then Benjamin Netanyahu started to say to his colleagues, "I am astonished." He was like shocked, visibly angry, some people giggling about the scene. But it was very, very intense, to a level where Benjamin Netanyahu had to take a break. Now, when it comes to the break, Benjamin Netanyahu, as the serving prime minister, in case there's a security matter, in case there's something urgent, he has exemptions. He previously had multiple delays when it comes to the court cases against him in hearings because of that. Because he said urgent developments, diplomatic developments, security matters, and he is able by the Israeli law to ask for these exemptions, and they are indeed granted. And sometimes during the actual session, he is asking to leave for a security matter, for an urgent consultation. He's done that previously, but now reached a level where it appears to be pre-planned. It appears to be coordinated with these people, like, "Oh, call me 15, 20 minutes and then we're going to do something." Anyway, why did he take the break, Benjamin Netanyahu? To kill. Benjamin Netanyahu needs to shed blood every few minutes. He's like a vampire. He's thirsty for blood. So he went out and he authorized an assassination of a Hamas figure in Lebanon. A Hamas figure in Lebanon who Israel claims is in charge of the attacks on Israel. As a matter of fact, multiple reports, and this man is called Muhammad Shaheen from Hamas, multiple reports in Israel, they said he was actually planning to go and carry out an attack, which is something very unrealistic because there's a ceasefire now. Hezbollah themselves, who are leading the armed attacks against Israel, haven't been attacking for the past couple of months, let alone Hamas. It's unrealistic. However, he wanted to have a break and kill someone. He went out and he killed someone. But that attack is significant. This Muhammad Shaheen guy from Hamas, he is in charge of certain attacks or directing attacks in the West Bank. Reports say there are certain indications as well that he was very close with the previous senior figure in Lebanon who was assassinated previously from Hamas, Saleh al-Aruri, who Israel assassinated in the southern suburb of Beirut. But why is Israel attacking these figures in Lebanon? Several days back, they also reportedly killed a senior figure in Hezbollah who's in charge of the missile and air systems when it comes to Hezbollah. Now they're attacking this Hamas guy. Well, firstly, he wanted an opportunity to get out of the court. That's number one, bloodlust. Then they are trying to show the Lebanese what the next phase is going to be about. You see, tomorrow is the deadline. Tomorrow is the 18th of Feb. Benjamin Netanyahu is supposed to completely withdraw from Lebanon, him and his army. However, today, the Israeli army declared that they're not leaving Lebanon. They're not going to withdraw from 5 points in Lebanon, despite the fact that the new Lebanese president himself said Israel is an enemy and we expect them to get out of all of the areas they occupy. And I have fears that they won't. And in which case, Lebanon will have a united front to take action against any Israeli measures happening in Lebanon. He had this united approach when he was talking, and he also even mentioned Hezbollah and their arms, because some people are asking, to disarm Hezbollah in Lebanon, saying anything to do with Hezbollah's arms, we deal with this matter internally as Lebanese people. So the tone that's coming from the Lebanese state is very direct when it comes to Israel, that they have to withdraw. And from an internal perspective, it's showing an understanding and it's showing a level of coordination with the Lebanese resistance. So what are these areas that Israel does not want to withdraw from in the southern part of Lebanon? Well, they are 5 main hills on the borders with Lebanon, inside the border, inside the Lebanese territories, not very deep, couple of 100 meters in. And they stretch from a place called Al-Labuni in the coastal part, western part, up to Tallat al-Hamam, as it's called, closer to the Golan Heights. And the reason that Israel is occupying these areas is because they're saying these areas are strategic. As a matter of fact, Israel previously occupied these locations before in what they called the security belt. However, the Lebanese resistance expelled them from all of those locations. So the places are called Al-Labuni, Jabal Blat, Jabal Deir, Merkaba, and Tallat al-Hamamis. All of them are just a few hundred meters into Lebanese territories, and all of them oppose an Israeli settlement next to it, whether it's Metullah or Shlomi, one of these areas. And the excuse of Israel is we want to protect them, therefore we want to have presence in those areas. However, even with that argument, it's quite weak, because although they're going to be present there and their excuse is, oh, we want to see that the Lebanese army is spreading and we want to make sure Hezbollah don't have any movement and what have you, they are exposed. They are exposed to blows from the Lebanese resistance and even from the Lebanese army if something happens with the Lebanese army and they all of a sudden breach everything. Although the Lebanese president himself is saying, Lebanon is not ready for war now. They don't want a war. But the Lebanese resistance, they can do something with them too. And the numbers that are assumed to be there, by the way, is approximately a brigade or several hundred Israeli terrorists in each base. So the excuse and statements coming from Israel is that, no, we're going to stay in these areas for a long time. But tomorrow's the deadline, so what's going to happen? Hezbollah didn't outright say we're going to fight. And the Lebanese state and Lebanese army aren't saying that, we're going to fight. A couple of things might happen. The first thing is we might see more disruptions and more protests from the civilians returning to those places. So popular resistance against the Israeli presence. People who are mostly unarmed protesting against the Israeli presence. Israel might commit massacres against these people. They killed approximately 30 and injured 130 when they were returning to their villages when the 60-day deadline finished. But they ended up liberating some of these. So Israel retreated, Israel withdrew from approximately 12 villages where the Lebanese population came, just normal civilians, challenging the tanks and challenging the genocide terrorists. But tomorrow, it might be a little bit more complicated because Israel is saying, no, we were going to stay in these locations and it's vital for our security. So there might be a scenario of the people enforcing, indeed, some action and leading the Israeli terror forces to withdraw from Lebanon completely and say, look, it's not worth it to stay in these places. Or it could be a case of Israel having some sort of attacks, trying to see if that would work or if it would deter people at a certain cost, not more than that. Or they can go all out and then things might completely collapse. The scenario of an all-out war breaking again in Lebanon tomorrow is not very likely. Hezbollah are not very interested in having an escalation now. They already planned the funeral of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah and Sayyid Hashim Safiuddin, the two secretary generals who were assassinated by Israel during the war with Lebanon, and that's going to take place on the 23rd. You're talking about a massive event with visitors coming from over 70 countries, 400 media outlets, a very large event, lots of resources put into it, lots of effort being put into it. And it doesn't appear that Hezbollah want to hinder the prospect of something happening when it comes to that event. However, if Israel remains, then there's a problem. There's a very big problem. And that problem lies in Israel still giving the Lebanese resistance an excuse. You see, this is where Israel has absolute idiocy and stupidity when it comes to politics. They want the resistance to disarm or withdraw, whatever, but they're staying there, giving them a reason, let alone the existence of Israel as a state, giving everyone a reason to resist them as an illegal occupying entity. However, that will give Hezbollah a stronger argument in the future if there should be any escalation, and it will also apply pressure on the Lebanese state. The people will be telling the Lebanese state, hold on a second, when Hezbollah were there, they were expelling them, and when you're there, they're occupying, and you're not doing anything for them. And that's the argument that the government and the Lebanese army is going to face. It's a very weak argument. They're not going to be able to defend themselves. However, Hezbollah, at one point, they will have enough support to take action against the Israeli presence because, they said they're not going to accept Israeli presence, Israeli occupation. And the Lebanese president said that they're not going to accept any occupation on any inch of their land. So that means there's a harmony, there's a united tone here, the united speech when it comes to confronting Israel. But the main thing is, Israel is keeping those seeds of occupation and seeds of conflict. And that is serving purposes that are totally opposite to the Israeli interest. If you take that with, for example, the Israeli presence in Syria. Israel is occupying certain parts of Syria. The new Syrian administration, they're trying to solve things diplomatically, but the more time goes by, the more that tone escalates. For example, we had the Syrian foreign minister making some statements the other day saying that Israel is destabilizing the whole region, the security of the whole region, and the Golan is occupied, and it's a Syrian land, the Golan Heights. No one has the right to occupy it or act with it. Now, previously, the new Syrian administration, they were talking about the newly occupied areas in Israel and going back to the 1974 understandings. Now they're saying, oh no, the Golan Heights. So what Israel is doing is they are bringing people who were opposing each other at one point during the civil war in Syria and saying that, hold on a second, we have a common enemy here. Israel is currently occupying Lebanese territory. Israel is currently occupying Syrian territory. And Israel is currently occupying and has been occupying for a very long time Palestinian territory. Therefore, who do we have as an enemy? Who is the common enemy? Who is causing the destabilization? Who is the main problem beyond any internal agreements or disagreements? Who is the problem beyond any internal feuds or political feud, whatever it is? It's Israel. It's Israel and anyone backing Israel, primarily the United States of America. So all of these political developments are not in the favor of Israel. Israel is about, breaking people apart, causing frictions between people of the same state, trying to have even civil wars. But what they're doing by their actions is very stupid politically, because they're showing everyone that I am the problem. They're even bringing Arab states that hardly ever had any kind of hostile tone or any kind of escalation in tone, even when it comes to Israel, together with more escalation, with even calls to displace Israelis. That's becoming more common now. And they're bringing them together, raising tensions with Egypt, raising tensions with everyone else. So at one point, the people and the movements in the region, the countries and politicians, they will realize that this is the main country causing all of this problem in the area. It's Israel causing all of these problems. And no matter how much we have internal problems, they're going to remain the ultimate problem here. So the presence in Lebanon, it will give a reason for the Lebanese resistance to continue fighting Israel afterwards. When will that be? Are we talking about, and that's in case, of course, the Israelis still stay there after any potential popular uprising. From tomorrow onwards, there are expected to be, people protesting and taking action, not to, armed conflict level. If they stay there, when can we see an escalation happening? Well, I believe that Hezbollah in the very short term, so we're talking about the next few weeks, potentially the next few months maybe, they wouldn't necessarily want an immediate escalation. They want to give time for the state to exhaust everything when it comes to political measures. Of course, get the events that they have out, primarily the funeral of Sayyid Hassan al-Salah and Sayyid Hashim Safiuddin. And then we will talk about what's happening in terms of the confrontation with Israel. However, Hezbollah existed because of the Israeli occupation. And the resistance movements exist because of the Israeli occupation. And Israel is giving them reason now to remain there, because they're breaching by their presence in the southern part of Lebanon the 1701 agreement that they had from 2006, following the 2006 war. And their armed presence in South Lebanon is giving Hezbollah a reason to remain there, to remain in South Lebanon. Because if Israel is going to be in South Lebanon, why should Hezbollah withdraw from South Lebanon? These things are very important. And the more time goes by, the more people will realize that no, Hezbollah actually have a point. They're going to have to take action at some point, and we're going to have to support them with or without the Lebanese state.